Alright, first off, I want to say all praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Grave and Stone. Salutations to the Akim out there who are sincerely pushing this route in all sincerity and all honesty. Alright, this is the brother Kabash from the GMS Jamaica camp. Alright, this lesson I wanna go into is the situation that's going on right here in the Caribbean as it pertains to the conflict between Venezuela and America and the involvement of Russia as well. Right now, certain Caribbean states have made a decision as to what side they're gonna pick in this whole conflict. And for those of you who are new to the situation, pretty much America has declared Juan Guaido, which is the opposition leader in Venezuela, as their president, pretty much as a legitimate president of Venezuela. However, the duly elected president, which is Nicolas Maduro, which is the successor to the previous president, Hugo Chavez, who was notoriously assassinated, by the United States. So Nicolas Maduro is his successor. Pretty much propaganda has been spreading that Nicolas Maduro is a dictator and that people are suffering under him, and that the country is in economic turmoil and all these different things. And then out of the blue came Juan Guaido, the American-backed, so-called rightful president of Venezuela, who is also backed by certain Western powers. They have seized certain assets that belonging to the Venezuelan government, billions of dollars, belonging to the Venezuelan government. Sold them off to pay for bad debt, and also transferred them to the the president that they're backing, which is Juan Guaido. Right, so the Caribbean nations, are all in an agreement, pretty much with Venezuela. That's called the Petro-Caribe deal, wherein Venezuela provides oil, especially to Jamaica. Let me speak about Jamaica, since I'm here in Jamaica. They provide oil to Jamaica at a very reduced rate, and a very reduced interest rate. So they give us a lot of oil. We go on a payment plan and pay them for that oil at a very low interest rate. They also have 49% share in Petrojam, which is pretty much the oil industry that runs, everything that has to do with natural gas and oil and gasoline and petroleum here in Jamaica. So it's called Petrojam. So the Venezuelan government owns 49% of that, which recently, the Jamaican government has decided to buy that back. Right now, why I've decided to do this lesson is because Trump, which is the American president, has called a meeting with certain heads of state in the Caribbean, right? And in the meeting, they're going to talk about, of course, the situation here in Venezuela, right? Down there in Venezuela, and also certain deals about trade and energy. But let's get into it to show that this is a very significant meeting. We're in a very significant situation right now, right? A lot of people don't realize how significant the situation is, but we're gonna get into it. And let's get out of the sun here. All right, there we go. It's a bit better. All right, so pardon the noise. There's a lot of traffic, passing by, trucks and stuff. But let's get into the first article. Alright, this is from the Gleaner. Right, it was posted on March 20th, 2019. So a little less than a week ago. Trump to meet with Holness and Caribbean leaders. Right, so it says United States President Donald Trump will meet with Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness and 4 other Caribbean leaders on Friday to discuss a range of issues surrounding trade and security. The Associated Press has reported. The hot-button item of Venezuela and its controversial president Nicolas Maduro is also expected to be in front and center. The leaders of St. Lucia, Haiti, the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic will also meet with Trump at his Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago. The U.S. president is expected to thank Holness and other government heads for their advocacy for peace and democracy in Venezuela, said Sarah Sanders, Trump's secretary. Right, so pretty much what Jamaica has done, along with other states in the Caribbean, is to back America and their support of Juan Guaido. Right, she said that the United States remain a good friend to the Caribbean and seeks to build on the proud legacy as the region's partner of choice. Pretty much making sure that America knows that, hey, you're in our backyard. You need to make sure that your geopolitical and foreign affairs policies are running congruent with ours, right? So it says Jamaica joined several countries in censuring Venezuela, right, in an Organization of American States vote in January. The Holness administration decided to buy back Venezuelan government's 49% stake in Petrojam, Jamaica's oil refinery, through PDV Caribe, a subsidiary of the state-owned oil company PDVSA, had sparked a diplomatic tiff between both countries for more than a year. Kingston had argued that its decision to forcibly retake the shares, which was executed last month, centered on economic grounds, that Caracas's failure to contribute to the overhaul of Petrojam's aging infrastructure threatened Jamaica's energy security and other international obligations. But critics, including the opposition, posited the buyback was hostile to a traditional ally and thus aggression was part of a proxy war at Washington's bidding, right? And that's the center of it all, yo. Seeing the decision to buy back the 49% share in Petrojam was actually part of a proxy war that Washington is raging on Venezuela right now. They've launched innumerable economic sanctions against the Venezuelan state. They've also launched other warfare where they've cut off the electricity in the majority of the country. Right now, 50% of the country is without electricity. Right, they've also received a second outage recently. Right, and they're trying to get into the country by saying that they're delivering humanitarian aid, which the Venezuelan president is not stupid, so he knows that, you know, what they want to do is invade. Right, so it says sanctions imposed by the Trump administration have turned the screws on the Maduro regime, shutting off revenue inflows and compounding the social and economic crisis. Just yesterday, Trump hit Venezuelan state mining company Minervan with sanctions barring any U.S. citizen or entity from any financial transactions with the company or its president. Right? So let's get on to the next article. So this next article was posted the next day on March 21st, and it says Lisa Hanna, which is an MP here in Jamaica, concerned about closure of Jamaica's embassy in Venezuela. So not only have they decided to buy back the 49% share that Venezuela has in Petrocaribe, they've also decided to close their embassy down there in Venezuela. Right, and here's what Lisa Hanna has to say about it. It says, Kingston, Jamaica. Opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs and foreign trade, Lisa Hanna, says she has taken serious note of yesterday's statement from Portfolio Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith about the temporary closure of Jamaica's embassy in Caracas, Venezuela. The closure will take effect April 1. As we have previously stated publicly, we have been monitoring circumstances related to the operation of the embassy, both in the wider context of our diplomatic representation review, as well as in particular circumstances of the mission in Caracas. The ministry, along with its embassy, have been experiencing significant challenges in the operations at the post for some time, and temporary closure is now the practical solution, Johnson-Smith said, which is just diplomatic bullshit, yo, which Hanna is going to see through and make obvious. It says, however, Hanna found this latest move by the government shocking, stating that it appears to halt diplomatic relations with Jamaica's long-standing ally. Never before has Jamaica walked this road. Not only are we eroding our long-standing traditions of remaining objective interlocutors, able to assist with a peaceful resolution of the conflict in Venezuela, but we are setting a dangerous precedent by what appears to be doing the bid of other powers. Right? That's exactly what was quoted in the Gleaner in this one. Right? That we were acting as part of a proxy war at Washington's bidding. Right? So it's showing you that the buyback of the Petrocaribe, of the Petrojam shares, the closing of the embassy are all part of the proxy war that America is launching against Venezuela. And this is all about controlling Venezuela's oil reserves, right? Because Venezuela has the most oil reserves of any country in the world, yo. Right? They might not be the biggest exporter of oil or natural gas, but they have the biggest oil reserves, yo. And that's what America wants to take hold of, yo. And also, right, Venezuelan gold, right, which Russia has the permission from the Venezuelan government to be mining that gold from December, right? It says the Foreign Affairs Ministry said that during the period of closure of the embassy in Caracas, the management of Jamaica's relations with Venezuela will be undertaken from the ministry's headquarters in Kingston, as they have largely been doing for some time. Alright, so let's moving on to the next article here. Alright, so this is also from the Observer, posted a little bit earlier, February 24th, 2019. Jamaica disloyal, ? Venezuela disrespected, ? again. It says, should you stick out with someone in a situation even if they are wrong? The answer to such a question is often determined by the side of the loyalty equation on which you happen to be. And right now we've chosen the side of the American government, right? Loyalty and its merits or demerits have caused debate inside and outside of church. If you are in a friendless situation and in need of a true friend, your answer to the above question probably would be yes. If you are the friend needed by someone in trouble, you may hesitate to stick it out, especially if your loyal actions may cause you to lose money or tarnish your reputation, especially how others more powerful than the person who needs your loyalty will view you, right? And that's throwing shade at America, right? So America is that more powerful friend, right, who will view you differently for being loyal to Venezuela, whom we've had economic agreements with for decades, yo, under the Petro-Caribe deal and other deals, right? With this in mind, let's take a look at the Venezuelan-Jamaican issues again. For now that the shine has come off the ball, or there's a calm before the storm, perhaps we can be more dispassionate in our analysis. Such an approach could help us benefit from lessons learned and help us guide our future actions. There has been a concern that we have been disloyal and disrespectful in our relationship with Venezuela. Those who hold a position point to our Organization of American States votes in late 2018 against Maduro, and to our more recent desire to grab the 49% shares held by Venezuela in Petrojam, and more recently the closure of the Jamaican embassy down there in Venezuela, and also the meeting with President Trump, siding with them in backing Juan Guaido, right? So we pretty much don't have to go any further in this. I'll post the articles in post-production in the description box so brothers can read it. Here we're moving on now. So this is also March 21st, 2019. Barbados reiterates call for non-interference in Venezuela. Right? It says Bridgetown, Barbados has reiterated the need for the Caribbean to remain a zone of peace and insisted that only the Venezuelans could decide the future of the South American country, even as President Donald Trump was gearing for a meeting with selective Caribbean leaders on Friday on the economic and political developments in Venezuela. Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who has been a member of the Caribbean Community CARICOM delegation meeting with regional and international stakeholders on the Venezuelan crisis, told Parliament on Wednesday night that instability in Venezuela will undermine peace in the southern and eastern Caribbean, as we are already seeing in Trinidad and Grenada. We have been a zone of peace in the Caribbean for so long that we are in danger of underestimating how important it is for us to have a peaceful region. If, God forbid, there is a military intervention in Venezuela, which we're going to show you that that's likely right now, right? Showing you certain developments that Russia have taken, right? It says, if, God forbid, there is military intervention in Venezuela, it would destabilize the region for a long time, and we could be living with the adverse social and human effects for a very long time, after relating to refugees and other social instabilities that come with the movement of guns and trades of guns for basic items. Right? It says CARICOM leaders at their inter-sessional summit at St. Kitts Nevis last month reiterated their position of non-interference in the internal affairs of Venezuela and said they were prepared to mediate in the process to bring about a peaceful resolution to the crisis, where opposition leader Juan Guaido, with the support of Washington and its allies, are seeking to replace President Nicolas Maduro, who was sworn into office for a second consecutive term earlier this year. Right? So let's get into other articles again. Again from the Observer. This was March 24th, so Sunday, day before yesterday. St. Vincent Prime Minister described meeting with Trump Caribbean delegation as troubling. Here's why. It says, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, right, has described the recent meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and some Caribbean leaders as troubling. Speaking to reporters here late Saturday, Gonsalves noted that there was no true representation of the CARICOM community, as the current chairman of the regional body, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Thomas Harris, was not invited to the meeting. He also pointed out that there were absent members of the CARICOM Advisory Committee, including himself, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. None of those persons were invited. For it to be a true CARICOM representation, you must have at least a chairman, so that any discussion of the Venezuela in that context, it cuts across agreement mechanism that we have put in place. It says Gonsalves, who referred to the action by the U.S. concerning Venezuela as a creeping coup d'etat, right, against a legitimate government, said that CARICOM will not fall victim to the entrapment of others. But some Caribbean countries have fallen victim to that entrapment, namely Jamaica, right, doing the bidding of Washington, right. So let me read that statement again. Gonsalves, which is the president of St. Kitts and Nevis, referred to the actions of the U.S. concerning Venezuela as a creeping coup d'etat against a legitimate government, said that CARICOM will not fall victim to the entrapment of others. We in CARICOM have to be very alive to the mischief that some persons may be up to seek to divide us in a manner that we ought not to be divided, and therefore reduce the extent of our work. On Friday, the Prime Ministers of Jamaica, the Bahamas, St. Lucia, as well as presidents of the Dominican Republic and Haiti met with Trump to discuss the crisis in Venezuela and energy. Right? So, moving on again. Right? This says, this is from Loop. Holness says meeting with Trump promising. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has described the first meeting on Friday between Caribbean leaders and U.S. President Donald Trump as promising. Trump hosted Holness as well as the leaders of Bahamas, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and in St. Lucia at Mar-a-Lago in Florida on Friday. This meeting was reportedly organized by the U.S. President to show his support for Caribbean leaders to back democratic transition in Venezuela, pretty much meaning a U.S. takeover of Venezuela. That's what it means, right? That's just a euphemism, It says the 5 countries have either denounced Nicolas Maduro or joined more than 50 countries in recognizing Juan Guaido as the rightful interim leader of the nation, right? It says Holness wrote on his social media page that the first meeting with Trump was promising as we anticipate further discussions on energy, trade, security, and issues to do with peace and stability in the region, which will not come, and according to prophecy, which will show Jamaica and the Caribbean islands will get caught up, right, in this third world war, right? And this is an example of why, right? So, let's see if I can find anything else here. Or is the meat of the matter done brought out? Here we go. It said, I think we all recognize there's a problem in Venezuela. Most people recognize the need for new elections. I think that any disagreement they have is how that will play out. The world remains divided on that. I think there's a growing consensus that there needs to be fresh elections in Venezuela to resolve the humanitarian crisis, which there was, elections, right, recently. Here we go. From Loop Scoop again, March 25th, so that was yesterday. Antigua Prime Minister slams weak-minded regional leaders from meeting with Trump. Right, Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness and 4 other Caribbean heads of government have been branded as weak-minded by the President of Antigua and Barbuda over their decision to accept an invitation to meet with U.S. President Trump last Friday. The meeting was called by Trump to discuss the ongoing turmoil in Venezuela and energy security, among other issues. Right? So these men are weak-minded, He said, I feel embarrassed for those weak-minded leaders who allowed themselves to be used by carrying out the agenda of others, which is exactly what they're doing. You're playing a dangerous game, going against our long-standing allies and going against also, let's bring it up, Russia, right? So this is from Yahoo News, posted yesterday as well. US, Russia lock horns over Venezuela, raising the stakes. The US and Russia clashed publicly over Venezuela on Monday, raising geopolitical stakes over the oil-producing nation after Moscow sends dozens of soldiers to Caracas amid what is alleged to be a budding coup. Right? US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo warned his counterpart Sergei Lavrov over the phone that the US and regional countries, right, which Jamaica is one of those regional countries, will not idly stand by as Russia exacerbates, right, tensions in Venezuela. The tense conversation came after Russia sent 2 planes reportedly carrying 100 soldiers and 35 tons of military equipment to Venezuela's main airport outside Caracas on Saturday. Right? So the situation is heating up, yo. Right? And our leaders have chosen a very dangerous, I mean, either side is dangerous, because if you choose to side with Russia, we're pretty much right underneath, America. So either side, is very tricky. So let's get into some precepts, and hopefully we can wrap up. This is Isaiah 56:10. It says, his watchmen are blind. Our watchmen are the men who are supposedly leading us, right? These politicians. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Right? Why does a dog bark? A dog barks to let you know that there is danger, there is a threat that is coming. Our leaders have not done that, yo. Right? Loving to slumber. They are greedy dogs which can never have enough. They are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his own gain, for an own quarter. Right? These men are not telling you that, hey, a global conflict is coming and Jamaica will be in the midst of it, yo. Right? So let's move on. This is Isaiah chapter 28 verse 15. Because we have said, let me start verse 14. Isaiah 28 verse 14. Wherefore hear the word of the Lord, ye scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. Right? So it's actually talking about wherever Israelites dwell. Right? So this can also refer to the leaders of Jamaica, Barbados, and Dominican Republic, and Haiti, who met with the American president. Right? It says, because you have said we have made an agreement with death, and America is that country that represents death, yo. Right? And with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I lay for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. Judgment will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hill shall sleep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding place. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through. Then shall ye be trodden down by it. Alright? Ezekiel 13 and 10, even because ye have seduced my people, saying peace when there is no peace, and one built up a wall, right, and others daubed it with untempered mortar, right? So our leaders have seduced us, saying that peace is coming, and that choosing the side of the US is the right decision, when it's not, right? And it's gonna bring military intervention to the Caribbean region, right? And this is also, prophesied in the scriptures. This is Revelation chapter 6, and we'll start at verse 13. It says, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as fig tree casteth her timely leaf when she's shaken of a mighty wind. And I believe I have an image of the stars of heaven falling onto the earth. Right, here it is here. China's new intercontinental missile. Right, and here we have each of these lines represent a nuclear warhead. Right, and it looks like what? Stars falling from heaven. Right, so this is what the prophet John the Revelator saw, and described it as stars falling from heaven, right? But they're actually nuclear warheads, yo, right? So if you're seeing this, back then in 90 to 90 AD thereabout, right? You'd think that these were falling stars, right? But they're not. They're ICBM missiles. So let's get back to the scriptures. It says, The stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casts their untimely leaves when she is shaken of a mighty wind, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. Let's get a look at that. That's it right there. Right? When that nuclear bomb falls, you know, and you see that mushrooms cloud rolling up into the sky, that's what it's talking about, yo. The heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. Right? It says, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. So these islands in the Caribbean are going to be victims of thermonuclear bombs, yo, because we are gonna be we're gonna be involved, you know, in this Third World War, yo. This war is not gonna be like the World War I and World War III that was fought on the European continent and the Eurasian continent. It's gonna affect the Western world, yo. America is gonna be burned. You know, bombs are gonna be dropped in the Caribbean as well, yo. Right? And the islands are gonna be moved out of their places, meaning that Jamaica and other islands are gonna be sunk, yo. Right? Joel 3:9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake ye up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yehoshaphat over there in the Middle East. Right? For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to bring out. You know, it's pretty long lesson, but hopefully it was edifying. You know, again, Kalal Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Rakah Kodesh for giving me the spirit to this lesson. Shalom.